Hello and welcome to Retech, and it's just a bit of an impromptu video because I've been kind of going through some of my Sinclair stuff because some of this stuff hasn't been used in quite some time. I've probably got maybe 20-ish, maybe a few more Sinclair ZX Spectrum machines, and then there's the QLs and ZX Spectrums, and also the Z88 as well, which is something that, you know, I've been kind of picking up and collecting for quite some time. But this is just a few of them that I've been going through, and they've been sitting there gathering dust, apart from one, which is the Harlequin model just here. And that's mainly because of ease of use and convenience, because the Harlequin can do 128/48. It can also be used as a Jupiter Ace. It can run the original ROM set as well, the 9 tiles ROM, and you know, it becomes a very useful little tool. But the rest of them, I'm kind of ashamed to say, including my all-time favorite, or rather I should say the one with my favorite add-on device on the side, has been kind of sitting there gathering dust. And that includes some of the rarer ones in the UK, such as the 2048 and also the very rare Sinclair model that I've got, which I've showed in previous videos. But you know, they've kind of been sitting there doing nothing for some time, because mainly been using this one. And all of these have been refurbished. I've refurbished just about all of these apart from this green bezeled one, which I haven't even turned on yet. And I've got a few others which I really need to go through. But all the ones on this desk on the Plus and the normal ZX Spectrum 48K range have all been refurbished, repaired and so on. So when I came to turn on this one, which is immaculate, this is basically immaculate in terms of case, with a nice white writing there, not a single mark on it. Keyboard hasn't even been worn or anything like that, and it's still remarkably good condition. So when I came to turn this on, imagine my surprise when it failed. And that's kind of why I decided to go through all of these. And I sat there thinking, well, I've just turned it on, it's been refurbished, it's been used probably a dozen times to make sure that it was still fine. It's had capacitors replaced. I think I've replaced the ULA on that one. I really should look at my notes. It's had a beeper speaker replacement in it as well, and it's had a new membrane, and that's really it. So it's done all right for its many years of service. But I turned it on and it just come up with nothing, not even a garbled screen or a screen full of 1 zeros, characters, black bars, nothing. The usual kind of ZX Spectrum kind of issues that you get. And I thought to myself, well, what's causing that? So I kind of didn't think much of it. I just thought I'll need to go away and check all of these. And I've also got the Plus 2 range as well, which will also need checking, although I have had 1 or 2 of them on recently anyway. So yeah, I do know they are okay, but they're starting to gather dust as well. But basically that's caused a little bit of concern, so I started dragging these out and powering them on, and lo and behold, 3 did exactly the same problem. I just did a quick power cycle test just to make sure. So I kind of thought, well, I might need to take these apart. So what I've done is I put them to one side to go back to them. So I had to do other stuff. I came back and I then thought I'll just try a different power supply unit, exactly the same problem. So ruled out power supply units, ruled out any issues of voltage getting to the computer itself and so on. And I was just sitting there having a bit of a think about what I was going to do next, and then it came to life. And the problem was, it was something that I should have thought of anyway, but the problem is that these machines have been sitting for so long that the capacitors on board of all of these machines were completely discharged. There was nothing in them at all. So by just leaving them plugged in and switched on while I was just about to search for a screwdriver and, you know, an oscilloscope or whatever, just to get them fixed, they powered back on, and then after that they power on all the time. And that was the same for the other machines which weren't powering on. So what I've done is I've gone through all of the machines, powered them on for extended periods, and make sure that, you know, they're not overheating, they're powering on and off properly, they're working properly, and so on. But as you can imagine, leaving kind of the machines on and turning them off and discharging them and charging them and putting a game on them, make sure that's working as well, make sure that everything's working on the keyboards and the sound's working and so on, takes a bit of time. And it kind of got me thinking about, this is just the ZX Spectrums, the rubber keyed and the plus range models that I've got, and it's taken best part of an entire day really to go through them properly, not just to turn them on and off and put them away. So, and I've still got to do some cleaning and clean the cases down and put them all back away and all this kind of thing, and make sure that all the power supplies are putting out the correct voltage as well, because I haven't done that yet because I've been using a test power supply, a non-good one. And this takes time. And this whole kind of retro kind of computer lark takes a lot more time than most people realize. I think what kind of happens is you buy, you know, your first retro machine and you think, oh great, I'll get another one. So then you buy another one. And then for a little while it all seems to be going okay. The machines turn on, they work, and you know, everything's hunky-dory. You might buy one that needs to be repaired, so you'll spend a bit of time as a hobby fixing it and so on. But after a few years you get to a point where things don't turn on anymore, or they need periodic checking. And I don't think a lot of people are kind of realizing the amount of time and effort that you need to put into these to continue them working. Now, if you've only got a couple of machines, it's fine. You know, if you've got one in a spare, well, you can turn them on every now and again, or a couple of each model. But I kind of seem to have collected quite a few of each model, and there's a reason behind that, because up until pretty much the last 7 or 8 months, I would have been using these by randomly picking them off the shelf and just using them to either play a game, try some software out, try a new product out, and you know, whatever you needed to do. But that hasn't happened so much with the Sinclair range, because I've been kind of on the Amigas and the PCs and the STs and some of the Macs as well. So that's taken up a lot of time. And also I've been kind of messing about with cameras as well to try and upgrade, which seemed to have been a bit of a retro step, to be honest, my camera equipment, even though I've got quite a bit of it and it's all been pretty much 100% reliable. As a lot of you know that I'm kind of a bit of a Sony fan, and it's been great. But even going to later Sony cameras has taken me a while to sort that out, to make sure that videos and pictures with current mirrorless lenses and all this kind of thing are up to the job. And they're not particularly yet. I think a modern camera which is mirrorless, which I've kind of found out recently, isn't quite as good as a high spec camera which isn't mirrorless, which has a mirror, which has a shutter, which is kind of electromechanical, and it seems to be they're brilliant in kind of normal light, they're brilliant in certain situations, but they're not so good in either low light, and they're not so good with some LED lighting, some kind of, yeah, they're not so good with LED lighting as well. They seem to pick up interference patterns as well. Maybe that's just the camera I've tried, or the couple of cameras I tried, but I've tried them across the range from Sony to Samsung, etc., and they all seem to do pretty much the same. But anyway, this is just a very quick video just to say, look, these take up time, and if you have them and they've been put away for a while, be prepared to take a little bit longer to power them back on again, and don't be surprised if they don't work immediately or first time. Give the capacitors a little bit of time to charge. Give the whole board a little bit of time to acclimatize as well. Now there's a key one before I kind of finish this. If you've had something in storage and it's been fairly cold, and you brought it into a pretty warm area, like your normal living area and so on, then you're going to get very quick condensation on the board because of the temperature change. So that's effectively going to be putting liquid on the board. So don't immediately power it on. Basically leave it to acclimatize, maybe for an hour or so, maybe a bit longer if you can, and make sure that, you know, it's up to the temperature of the room that you're in, so basically room temperature, before you start powering it on and checking it out, because the last thing you want to do is short something out because of a buildup of moisture on the boards, simply because you've gone from cold to warm or warm to cold and so on, and vice versa. So yeah, be very careful of that, because it has killed a few machines in the past. Other than that, this retro collecting lark has seemed to have hit a bit of a plateau. About a year ago I did a video on how expensive they were getting, and that still holds true, but not for certain models. Certain models now seem to have plateaued, and the prices are starting to dive a little bit, and I think that's down to the economy at the moment. The worldwide Western economy is taking a nosedive anyway, and I don't think there's that amount of money sloshing around for people's hobbies as there once was. So that's kind of been reflected in the price of Spectrums and certain other models such as the 64, well, relatively so in the UK, and from what I can see in the US, the prices have tilted over the edge a little bit, and they're on kind of a little bit of a downward slope. I don't think they'll ever flatten out to prices where they were 3 years ago, because we've got over that point now. There's less of them around, less working and so on, so that naturally drives the prices up a little bit. But I think the craziness of the prices for certain models is kind of dropped a little bit, and it's going down, and that's the same as everything from vintage video recording equipment to classic cars to anything really that you can think of at the moment, because people are being a bit more cautious. So if you've got a little bit saved up to buy something, it might be worthwhile getting while the prices are on the wane for a short period, because it's not going to last long. And if you can do that, brilliant, but be careful not to drive the prices up as well. Just because you see something on YouTube that says this machine cost me £1,000 or $1,000 or €1,000, and they're going about how much it was costing, how rare it is, and something that has a knock-on effect to drive prices up in the real world, but it doesn't mean you have to pay for it. So you can kind of do your own kind of bit in keeping the prices at a level for enthusiasts rather than out and out collectors. You see, a collector wouldn't go out and buy a bunch of Spectrums that were broken or a bunch of Ataris that were broken. They want to buy the ones that are fully functional, in the best condition and so on. But if you're an enthusiast and you like working on them, then these kind of things are brilliant. These are, you know, it's like a moth to a flame, really. You're going to want them. So, but don't allow the kind of hedging their bets brigade online to get away with charging too much for them, because at the end of the day, if you've got to put 10-15 hours into repairing a machine, plus parts, plus what you would have normally missed out on as well, part of your time as well, your life, etc., then the initial value of these machines should be fairly low unless they're fully functioning. That's how it should work. But as I say, I think we've got over the fact that somebody's going to go online and try and charge you $200 for a non-working Spectrum, unless it was very rare. So there you go, there's my thoughts for today. It wasn't going to be a video, but I just thought I'd share it with you. Be very careful about turning things on first time. Make sure they're temperature acclimatized to the room you're using it in. Also be aware that sometimes you need time for them to charge as well. And also, while we're on it, if your power supply or your machine has reefer caps in it and they blow and they smell awful, it's not normally the end of the world with those, because a lot of those reefer caps are used for suppression of RF, and a lot of the times they don't cause the unit not to function. So again, those are not the end of the world. Just have a look at one of my videos concerning replacing a reefer. I think that was on my MZ, and in the end I decided not to, because it wasn't important, it wasn't necessary in the 21st century. And it was also, whatever you replace it with, it's gonna go eventually because of what it is. So sometimes it's best to take out what's not necessary and have a fully functioning, working, solid machine. But anyway, there we go. So anyway, thanks for watching this. I hope you like this ramble basically about my last day or so on these machines and what you can come up against when you're trying to recommission machines. Okay, so thanks a lot. Hope to see you soon, and please subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.